How's it hanging, YouTube? Peter here, your Ginger Geordie geek. Welcome back to the channel for another episode of This Is My. If this is the first time you've watched the show, this is basically where we meet a member of the comic book collecting community, we see some of their stuff, and we'll talk a little bit about them and find out a little bit more about them. Tonight, I'm absolutely over the moon to say that my guest is someone I've followed for a long time, since I started doing my YouTube channel, actually. He's got an incredible channel, and I'm very pleased to say this is my guest tonight, John. How are you, sir?
I'm doing well. Thank you for having me.
Over the moon to have you, John. I've been a big fan of your channel for a long time. And you do one of those things, I mean, we'll get to it in a bit, but you do one of those things that I absolutely adore, which is that you've incorporated and included your family life in your channel. So the work you do with your daughter, you know, I love that. My son, I've tried to get him to do some anime content with us and he flat refuses. So you have that ability.
Well, we're talking about how our kids are similar age. We're in those teen years, and I started early enough that I think that was the hook. You know, when they're still impressionable 5 and cute 8, 9-year-olds, it's different than when they're teenagers and they don't want anything to do with you.
Absolutely, yeah. So it's a pleasure to have you here, John. We're going to start putting you through your paces in a bit. We'll ask you some challenging questions and get you to show off some of your impressive collection. Before we do that, I'm just going to quickly rattle through some of the stuff that's happening on my channel, and then we'll jump to the chat, and then we'll make a start, all right? So, just wanted to mention this. Please do go and check out this video I've done recently about monetization and my trials and tribulations trying to get monetized, which didn't go well. So, if you're interested in that kind of stuff, check it out. Hopefully, it might help some of you guys in the future so you can miss the pitfalls that I've fallen foul of, shall we say. So, that one's out at the moment. I did this recently with a good friend of mine, Chris, from Off My Shelves, where we talked about absolute editions. You an absolute editions man, John?
I was going to say one of the 10 things I'm going to share falls into that category. So yes, I am.
Just stunning. I mean, John, you might not have noticed, but I'm an older gentleman. And you know, I don't know, there's something about the absolute editions that just appeal to me in terms of the quality of the artwork, the build of the books. Love them, absolutely.
And they look so great up on a shelf, you know. You got them all up. They just look. I've sadly only got 2, but we'll definitely share one.
Good stuff. So yeah, please do check out that, and please do check out Chris's channel, Off My Shelves. He's an amazing guy and he does fabulous content. So check that out, please. I did this recently with my good friend Efren from Past Point Comics. This is where we look at the advanced orders for comics coming out in October. So if you want to see what me and Efren are looking at picking up, and also a few book reviews, check that one out as well. That was always a good fun. And Efren's a great guy, so check out his channel.
He's in the chat right now.
Oh, is he? Oh, fabulous. Yeah. He's a star. This is a video that I've gone out to. This is tremendous clickbait, John. Tremendous clickbait, because this is actually my first collection, which I sold 10 years ago or something. But hopefully that got people excited and thought I'd pulled out of everything, you know.
They're worried about you. They'll check in.
Exactly, yeah. So please do check that out, guys. That is why I sold my entire collection, which I did do. So actually it's 18 years ago I sold my entire collection. So yeah, check that one out. That's an interesting vid. Okay, before we crack on, John, just to jump to the chat, see who we've got. We've got good old StreamYard. Thank you for joining StreamYard. We've got my pal Phil from Phil's Universe. When UK comic YouTube royalty meets US comic, that's very nice, isn't it? That's very kind, yeah. And we've got good old Luke from Hydra Collectibles. Been looking forward to this. John is a great guy and a really good friend. In fact, if it wasn't for him, I might not have even started a YouTube channel. So it's your fault. Yeah, that's what
you can blame. The blame can go squarely right here.
You know, I know that's not just Luke kind of kissing your bum, John. I know that's a fact because he's told us that story.
I basically forced him to talk about Lost on my YouTube channel. So there you go. I twisted his arm. As you know, it's really hard to get him to talk about that.
We're hardly into the bloody show and you brought up Lost already. Do you know what I mean?
5 minutes.
Yeah.
This could be a drinking game, so be ready.
And we've got Jack, my friend Jack. Thank you very much for joining, my friend. Oh, we've got MJ Comics. Always a pleasure. We'll have to get you on here. We'll have to get you on soon. I know we've talked about getting a date sorted, but we'll get it sorted quickly. We've got GP Venom. GP, you've just hit another milestone in subs, I think. So congratulations for that, my friend. We've got Terry. Nice to see you, dead man. Always a pleasure. Jack is saying hello, John. Let's have a look. Who else we've got? Oh, we've got Ian. Thank you for joining, Ian. Always a pleasure. Phil, I never ate bagels until I started watching John's Saturday morning show. You never ate bagels? He's never lived. He's never
missing
lived.
out. Missing
Yeah.
out.
And we've got Efren. Nice to see you, Efren. My good pal Efren from over in San Diego. And we've got Ben, everybody's favorite attention-seeking geek. Always a pleasure to see you, Ben. And we've got Shortbox Sharks. Thank you very much for joining. And the Empire Strikes. Excellent. MJ Comics, I didn't know Luke liked Lost. He never mentions it, mate. He never mentions it.
He keeps these things close to the vest.
He keeps it close. That and the fact, I mean, people won't know this, but he's only 2 issues away from a complete Spider-Man run. He didn't mention that either.
Never talked about it.
Yeah, nice to see you. Okay, John. So, absolute pleasure to have you. You sent me a variety of pictures to use on this, and I have to say, whilst this is a stunning image of you, it's the cat that got us.
It's so good.
I love it. I absolutely love it. So yeah, looks stunning. So yeah, let's get into it, mate. We're going to start you off with a really nice, easy question. I want to know a little bit about your backstory. So I want to know what got you into comic books, and then what got you into this fun game of YouTube. So tell a little bit about that, please.
Yeah, for sure. As far as comics, I think it was the curse of being a middle child. I grew up in a household with a lot of testosterone, 2 brothers, one older, one younger, dad, way into sports, very encouraging. So I think being a middle kid, you just wanted to be different. You wanted to do something different, go a different route. And so I became someone who read voraciously and just really enjoyed stories, and then was drawing and writing my own stuff and making little videos and things when I was a kid. And comics just sort of was another little piece of that. Specifically, I got my first books I remember buying were at my grandmother's, and she had a cabin up in Arizona, and it was walking distance to like a quickie stop, like a Circle K, and they had a spinner rack, and you could go in, and my mom would give me a little pocket money every so often when we were there for 2 weeks, and I would basically buy as many of the comics as I could get. And you walk down, you peruse the rack, buy a few things. My brother would buy some things, and then we would share and swap and all that kind of thing. So that was definitely a big part of the beginning of all of that.
So from an early age, then I guess you got into comic books.
It would have been, I probably was in the 5 to 10 range in there when we were going consistently every summer, and I would just whatever was on the shelves, so it was been like mid 80s. So a lot of good X-Men and stuff like that. Yeah,
but that's really interesting, because I don't know what it was like for you guys over in the States. You obviously had ready access to comic books. Over in the UK, before we had comic book shops, you got them at news agents, but it was very much whatever they were selling at the time. So you would pick up a copy of X-Men, say issue 233. Next time you go, it's issue 250 or something. There was no continuity in that regard. Was it the same for you guys, or was it? How did you read them?
I didn't have. We had access to them. Obviously, they were at the convenience stores and things like that. But the bigger issue was my mom taking me, being willing to take me, being willing to go. So with only one of her kids passionate about this, like how often could I get her to go to a comic shop? It was a blue moon when those moments would come around. So I was not reading consistently, and the graphic novel thing hadn't really taken off. So it wasn't like I could grab a story off the shelf and just read it. You'd look at the cover and be like, ooh, Wolverine looks tough on that cover. He's fighting Sabretooth. I'm going to grab that book. That looks amazing. The Superman's fighting Doomsday. I'm going to grab that book. That seems exciting. So from the mid 80s, early 90s, that was basically the accessibility I had to comics.
Yeah. Very cool. Very cool. And then as you got a little bit older, which kind of comics kind of drew you in? What was I think I know the answer, but what was the kind of the favorite?
I mean, obviously, when I was young, I wanted the most violent book I could find. So it was clearly Wolverine. Anything with Wolverine was a hit. And so Sabretooth was popular, and anytime the two of them would just brawl was a book that you'd snag. So then that pocket, a universe of X-Men and X Factor and New Mutants was like the core of my interest. As I got older, I really just followed people. So I followed Jim Lee when he moved to DC, and I was reading the stuff he was doing with Hush, or I was following Michael Turner when he was doing Batman Superman. So I was following talent as I got older and started having my own money to spend and could go to the shop more freely.
Yeah, very cool. And then how about YouTube? What made you suddenly make that leap into starting your own channel?
Well, like the world can blame me for Luke. Apparently, people can blame...
it does, John. I just want to say, and judging by the comments, wow, he's getting a kicking. But
it's fair. For both he and I, it's fair. Yeah. So no, it was Bueller. So I had started watching a lot of YouTube, and I had a YouTube channel that was mostly for film work. I was working in film and I was doing things. I was making commercials for companies and things. And so I was using a YouTube channel for that, just for posting, and then I could send links to things. And I was starting to watch YouTube, and Bueller, Tom, and Reggie, all of them kicked off at the beginning of February the same year. And when it came around to July or June somewhere, I was really in. I was always in their chats. I was always talking to people, finding other channels through those chats. And then Bueller did a contest that the main question he asked for the giveaway was, what music did you listen to in high school? And I thought, this is hilarious. I love that he didn't do what's your favorite cover, who's your favorite character, who would win Batman or Superman. He didn't do the typical comic stuff. He was like, no, I'm gonna ask about music. And I was like, I gotta respond. And I made the first comic video on my channel is this entry to Bueller's contest, and it just hasn't stopped. And I, of course, immediately started thinking, like, well, obviously Tom's got his vision of what he wants to say. Reggie knows what he wants to say. What do I want to say? And mine always centered around what I was reading. First and foremost, I'm a story guy, first, and then what are my kids interested in? And so I started asking them what they wanted to read. The first video with Charlie, my youngest, she wanted to read The Wedding of Jean Grey and Cyclops. Oh, wow. I was like, I have, that is X-Men 30. I think 30. I think it's X-Men 30. And so I pulled that out, and she read it, and then we did a little video on it. I made Kate read Batman Year One. Maybe a bad choice. Could have been a bad, Frank Miller is bold choice.
How old was she at that point?
So she would have been 11. I think she was 11.
That's fair enough.
It's borderline. It's a borderline decision. It's not Dark Knight Returns. I will say it's not Sin City. I was one level down from that. But then it was like, what else? And so we started hanging out. And then, as people mentioned in the chat, we just started doing these Saturday live streams, because I enjoyed more this kind of interaction where I can have friends, I could have people in the chat to talk to, and then it was free form. The girls could just be themselves. There was no editing or, any of that. The girls could just talk about whatever they were reading, and it wasn't scripted, and it wasn't me forcing them to read certain books. It was like, no, this is the book they picked off the library shelf, or that we got at the LCS, and this is them. This is their interest, And
I think that's what I love so much about your content, John, because it feels what our class is natural. Like you say, there is no scripting. It's just general chat, and I think that warmth comes across in that. I don't know, but I do a lot of content, but I have to say the stuff I enjoy most is the live streams. I was talking to Luke about this earlier today. I think it was actually just saying that's where I get my most adrenaline rush. I think is just the interaction and just because you haven't got to put on a face. You're just yourself. You just do what you want to do.
And I always felt like, even when I had an edited video or a reel that did really, really well on you, it found the algorithm somehow. I didn't get a great interaction from people. Like they would leave comments and I would reply, but like this, I can say hello to Tony. He just jumped in the chat. Hey, Tony. And he can make his jokes and he can talk to the chat. I feel like the interaction level for the live stream is so much higher. And that's why I like doing this. I'm not making money or branding myself or any of that stuff. I'm just, obviously I'm monetized. I get my $3 a year or whatever it is from that. But it's more just like, I want to hang out and talk to people as if we were all at the comic shop together, talking about the new issue of anything, right?
Absolutely. Good stuff. Now, you mentioned the algorithm there, John. Do you know what the only thing more confusing than the algorithm is? Lost. Sorry, I had to just get it in there.
That was a safe hit. You definitely scored a run there. That was good.
Just going to quickly jump to the comments, and then we're going to have a look at your first item. All right. GP is just in here and looked another 2K on top of it. Wow, GP, you're flying through, mate. You're flying.
Oh yeah,
incredible stuff. Luke. I've also never mentioned his relationship with Kevin Eastman. Yeah,
are you guys a couple now? Are you like seeing each other? Or is
yeah,
that the relationship?
They're. I think they're going steady. I think that's the term that they've used. You know,
Sounds
GP.
good.
I've just got Hydra Bingo. If Luke mentions Penn's copies, you win a bigger jackpot. Very cool. Ooh. And Luke is feeling attacked. Bless him. Phil, thank you very much for joining, my friend. Welcoming Efren there. Let's have a look. Oh, we've got Pad Bear. Thank you very much for joining, Pad Bear. Always a pleasure. And we've got Old Wolf. Thank you for joining, Old Wolf. And let's have a look. Shortbox is saying virtual comic shop vibes. Yeah,
Which
absolutely.
I had heard Reggie. I quote Reggie on that a ton, where he basically said he loved the fact that social media has allowed him to take this kind of lonely comic book hobby and extend it beyond the four walls of a comic shop, and that's exactly my mentality.
I mean, you know what? It is really interesting because, and again, you know, not wanting to labour the difference between the UK and the USA. I think in the USA, you guys were more accepting of comic book culture to a point. In the UK, it was very much something kids did or adults did in the basement, and they didn't talk about it. So certainly when I was, you know, growing up an avid comic reader, I had nobody I talked to about comic books because you just wouldn't, you know. And then the internet changed all that, I think, for me. And MCU changed that.
Well, I think the success of the MCU and some of these things that have broadened appeal for a lot of this.
Yeah.
I was wondering if you think it's related to the respect that English folks seem to have for literature as a whole, and how visual media would be a step down from something like that. Versus in the US, I think it's true we still have that same perspective, but it seems lessened.
Yeah, absolutely. So I remember, I mean, I've got a few friends who are teachers, and I remember having a good debate with one of them about literature and how she wouldn't class comics as a kind of valued medium. And I said, well, look, I'm borderline dyslexic. I learned to read via comic books, you know, so you can't dismiss the impact that the medium has.
And my best friend has the exact same story.
Yeah.
His dyslexia he was able to get through it and find workarounds for it because of this visual medium.
Yeah, absolutely. John, we're going to jump to show one of your items in a second. I just want to say we have absolute UK royalty now in the house. We can start the show. Fuzzy is here. Fuzzy's the main man, and he sent us a question for you, John, which I think is going to challenge you in a bit.
Okay.
Yeah, MJ Comics, exactly the same as me, Pete. No one I knew growing up liked comics. Yeah, absolutely. Oh, and we've got Sean. Thank you for joining, Sean. We've got 25 people watching. Please go and check out John's Comics with Kids. Give him a like and a subscribe. And if you like this video, consider subscribing to my channel as well. Okay, John, let's have a look. What have you brought to show?
All right. Well, just to get Luke off of our back, let's get a Lost thing out. Let's get this over and out of the way.
Let's get it over and done with.
Let's clear it out.
Then we can move on.
One of the things I collect is DVDs, Blu-rays, those kinds of things, and I love a cool boxed set. So this is the season 5 box set for Lost, and it comes in a Dharma. It was lost at sea. Like, we got fake water stains in a box. Like, it was shipped to the Dharma, like the Hydra station or whatever. And you open it up, and inside is a manual, like an instructions manual for the Dharma initiative. This is the amount of detail work in this is phenomenal. So then you open it. Inside there's a VHS tape that has like an instructional, like, how-to tape. It's so freaking amazing. Then it's got all of these different if you're in the security team, there's a breakdown of what you need to do if you're on security. There's so many fun little bits. There's a bunch of like badges, like sew on patches, depending on which part of the Dharma initiative you're working for. So here's one of them at the back here. I've sewn one of them on to sorry. So they come in their own little pouch. There's security one. They tell you how to sew it onto your jumpsuit. So when you got your jumpsuit,
Yeah. That is very impressive.
I love it. And then, of course, it actually has the discs for the show, but they come in, and you and I, similar age, you'll recognize. They look like the old floppy disks, like the actual floppy disks, but it's got the discs inside of it.
That is very cool. That is very cool.
I appreciate the attention to detail that this must have done. Right. And of course, it's got like a little letter from the Dharma Initiative, and I even cut out what it had on the wrapper, just so that I could have a complete list of everything that was included.
Have you ever played the video, John?
The videotape? Yes.
Yeah.
It's basically just like the ones on the show that are, mock, as if they're teaching you how to be a member of the Dharma Initiative. They're these sort of, old style, like the reel-to-reel almost movie, like 8mm movies, explaining to you what you're doing for the Dharma Initiative and the importance of what you're doing. So yes, so this I love. I don't have very many on this scale. I have a good one I have a box set for The Wire and certain other shows, but this one is very unique, and I just I can't imagine it. Storing this is ridiculous. Yeah, so I absolutely love the attention to detail put into this.
What season is that for again, John?
This is season 5. This is just one season. This isn't even like the full series box set. This is just one season.
Wow.
And yes, to MJ Comics question, that is my buddy Kevin, Superpower Review Kevin.
Oh yeah, Kev. Yeah, I know Kev very well.
Yeah. So that is good eyes, by the way. Yeah, that's he did that Batman Year One, and we'll discuss that in just a little bit.
Kev's a great guy. So, John, that's the first and only lost item you're allowed.
Oh, okay.
But do you know what? I'm going to be honest, and it really upsets us to say it, but that's very cool. I do like that. I like that kind of stuff. I used to love it when you got kind of a set and it had fake newspaper clippings and things, that kind of stuff.
Like, well, it was like when they released the Death of Superman and it had the armband and the newspaper article and all the things. It really extended it beyond the medium that it was in, right?
Absolutely. No, I do. I like that. I like that a lot. Okay. Going to quickly jump to the chat, and then we're going to give you another question. Fuzzy, your X-Men videos with Justin were some of my first comic videos I ever followed and enjoyed every single one. Brilliant. Good stuff, Fuzzy.
Thank you.
Oh, we've got my pal Chris. Chris, I've just been singing your praise and talking about our Absolute video. I got no one to speak about it now. I do think the Americans, they have cultivated some of the largest pop culture icons here, and it's got to be a sense of pride rather than something to be as a part 2. Let's have a look.
Or shame. They aren't all great pop culture. Some of them there's some shame worthy. We did the Kardashians too. It balances.
Yeah. Oh God, the Kardashians. Yeah. As has been years in the UK, that's why things like the Beano and Viz have a strange level of respect in the UK. I think. Yeah. I mean, we do have. There's no denying we have some good stuff in the UK in terms of comic book, 2000 ADs and things like that. If we think about those kind of books, look beautiful. Yeah. We didn't get it. Luke, we didn't get that here, did we? Phil's asking what Lost is. I think he's just taking the mic. Luke has got one of those, so he's got one.
He did. Because I thought he had told me they didn't sell them in the UK, so that's amazing that he got one shipped over then. Yeah.
Let's have a look to see if there's anything else to jump to. John, is that Kev? Yep, I mentioned that. Superb. All of Lost. It's an okay television show. No one really liked it, but he keeps bringing it up. Absolutely, all of. Absolutely. I've got a colleague like that as well.
That's my buddy Tony. He's hilarious.
Yeah. I once asked Luke to explain what the hell I'd watched in Lost, and he got his whiteboard out and started drawing.
Yeah.
No.
And then you're like, I gotta go. I gotta hang up.
If my brain's got to work that hard, I ain't interested, I'm afraid. Let's have a look. Oh, and we've got James T. Keegan. Hey, thank you very much for joining, my friend. Always a pleasure to see you. And we've got actual Dracula. Can't speak.
What's up, Adrian?
That's a whole other show, Dracula. Actual Dracula. Don't tell John what he can't do.
That's another good Lost fan.
Could be worse. Grease 2. Yeah, we had someone on here the other day who was obsessed with Grease 2. Not
It
a
had
good.
Michelle Pfeiffer though. Yeah, at least it had Michelle
It
Pfeiffer.
did. It had Michelle Pfeiffer. You're not bringing we're meeting at a convention. You are absolutely not bringing that bloody whiteboard. Question. We know that John is a big Storm fan. If Marvel was to make a film, who would star? Ooh.
Yeah. So Tony, he's bringing this up because we have a chat group on Instagram. He and I and Just a Rican and his comics and Perry comics.
Oh yeah, Rod. Yeah.
And Rod asked that question this morning, and I sent him some links to an actress named Janelle Monáe, who is a phenomenal actress. She's in Hidden Figures. She was in the Glass Onion movie that came out last year.
Tremendous. Yeah.
She's gorgeous. She sings. She's super talented, but she's also like very risque. Some of her videos super saucy, and she's just perfect. So she would be the one I would pick. And I sent him some pictures that made Tony feel like he had to call his wife right after.
But there's lots of rumor, isn't there, that Halle Berry's going to be back in Deadpool 3 because she had a haircut apparently.
That's perfect. So, I think I don't want her long term, but certainly as part of what I think Ryan Reynolds is trying to do with that movie, it's perfect. You know,
absolutely. Okay, mate. Next question, and this is a I get a bit of grief for this one because I want one.
Okay,
right? One. What is your favorite film? If you're the kids are out, family home's free, and you've got time to just sit on the settee and eat some popcorn, watch a flick, what movie is it you're watching?
So this was easily the most difficult question of all the ones you sent. Like, as somebody who is obsessed with movies and film and all these things, like it's almost easier if you just break it down by genre. Like it's just so tough to pick the one. And it's changed over the years a bunch because I grew up watching old movies with my dad. So, Westerns, black and white. I grew up watching stuff that, nobody would watch when they were, in the late 70s, early 80s. Nobody was watching that stuff, but I loved it. I would probably pick something from Hitchcock in the end.
Wow. Yeah.
I think he's my favorite filmmaker. I bounce back and forth to which one I love the most. If it's just me and I just want to vibe, it's probably Vertigo. If it's me with the family, it's Rear Window because everybody can enjoy it. There's more, everybody can get wrapped up in the excitement of the story. It's not as heavy. It's not as depressing. But it would probably be a Hitchcock movie. Yeah.
Very cool. Some of Hitchcock's movies are they're timeless.
They are. It's rare to have movies that can have the same emotional impact so many decades later. And I showed my younger brother who had never seen a Hitchcock movie at one point. I don't know how I grew up in the same household as him. I don't know how he dodged the bullet, but I showed him and his buddies Rear Window, and they were early in their college years, and they were on the edge of their seat the same way anybody is when they watch that movie the first time, when they're worried about the girl sneaking into the killer's apartment, and you're like, what's going to happen? The guy's on the phone, and then there's somebody at the door, and it's just like all the tension that he builds into every moment. It's just real. It's palpable.
Yeah, it's superb. Hitchcock made me cry like a baby when I visited Florida once. So my first ever family holiday to the States, when we did the whole Disney thing, I can't remember whether it was Universal or where it was, but I had the Hitchcock experience, and it was a 3D experience.
Probably Universal, yeah.
Yeah. So they
have the Psycho House out
here.
Yeah,
they've got the Psycho House, which is tremendous. But then they had the Birds 3D. So you had the old style 3D glasses on, and the birds attack. Wow. Yeah.
I remember a parent had written him a letter at one point to complain that their kid wouldn't take showers anymore after seeing Psycho. And he said, put him in the washing machine.
Yeah. Why not? Why not?
I love it.
Okay, mate. I'm going to give you a second or two to think just as I quickly put some of these comments up. Superhero movie or superhero kind of genre. Pick a favorite there.
Just one movie?
What? Yeah, one.
I mean, that's true. Again, it's going to depend on my mood and who's with me. If it's just me, I probably would go the original Superman. I'd probably go Christopher Reeve Superman. It still works for me. Like on every level. Obviously, the music is perfection. The cinematography is wonderful, but Reeve's performance Christopher Reeve is still like flawless. Like it's just absolutely amazing. And of course, Hackman is hilarious and also menacing and creepy at the same time, and just balances that really well. So yeah, I'd probably go with that one.
Good. Yeah, me too. I love that movie. Andy from Perpetual Comics. John's Comics with an old ginger man. How dare you? How dare you?
Subscribe.
Yeah. I mean, that's a really interesting pick, because this is something that's come up on this show a couple of times, that I'm a bit of a Boy Scout fan. I love your Captain Americas, your Supermans, you know, the people who stand for something. And I'm a big fan of Superman. But he gets a lot of stick. So for being boring and dull and all that. Are you a Superman fan in general, John?
I am, but I think what I remember hearing a writer, and I'm struggling to remember if it was Grant Morrison or not, but it was a writer talking about how I think he gets a lot of flack because he's just really hard to write well. You know, I think anybody can write a Batman book and make it entertaining. And you throw some moody atmosphere and a bad guy with a crazy plot, and it's easy to get on a successful Bat book. It's really hard to write an emotional, lasting, valuable Superman book because you need deeper thought going into it, which is why Grant Morrison's Superman is just so phenomenal. I think I definitely love Superman. I think it's just harder to write it well, and I think we've seen examples of crashing into that wall and not busting through it like Superman should. I think we've seen examples of how difficult that struggle is.
Absolutely. Okay, on favorite kind of movies, I'm going to give you one last question. Best Batman
performer, the actor as Batman, and are you saying Batman and Bruce, like the duality?
Yeah, overall, if you could only have one of them, who is it?
So this is a phenomenal question, and it reminds me a lot of people who say, "Who's your favorite James Bond?" Because in the same context, what you're saying is it's hard to look past who had the best scripts. Like obviously Daniel Craig got way better scripts than Roger Moore ever got. Right? Yeah. So is that fair to put them on the same stage? It's tricky. I think the Nolan scripts are so clearly superior. It's easy to give Christian Bale the win on that. So I'm probably going to pick Christian Bale just because I think those movies are superior. And so
I'm sorry, John, that's the wrong answer. I'm sorry.
But here's the really off kilter answer that I usually give is I really like Val Kilmer a lot. I like Val Kilmer's Batman a ton, and I think he gets so much grief. I just feel like he's one of the few guys that balanced Bruce and Batman well. And I don't think most guys do. I think most guys can do one of those really, really well and then balance and struggle in the other.
Okay.
So Val is underappreciated. I'm not saying the movie's great. He didn't get the quality.
Yeah, he didn't get the best movie. Yeah.
But I do.
I mean, the right answer obviously is Michael Keaton, but never mind.
Oh, hey, I'm with you, Passport. I'm with you. Adam West, underappreciated. Adam West. Do love me some Adam West, but you got to be able to be okay with Batman that's funny and not just like creepy, dark, and brooding all the time.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, mate. Show us something else. What else have you got to show off today?
All right. Well, I promised an absolute, and in keeping with Kevin's amazing piece of art that he sent me, he sent that when I bought from him this copy of Batman Year One, Issue 2, signed by Frank Miller. So he was upgrading his copy, and this series is probably my favorite single read issue, like story. And I've got all the issues now. I've got one slab, and then the absolute that I'm promised is Year One. And I don't know if they even print this anymore. I want to say that they're not printing it right now.
Yeah, the absolutes have quite a limited print run normally.
It's 2 volumes, so they print it in 2. The size is, always enormous. The artwork looks so phenomenal, just absolutely gorgeous. And they give you, extra bonus materials at the back as always. So this one's got a little cartoon sequence here at the back. I absolutely love Batman Year One. So if I'm going to post this on my Instagram later today because it's the theme for today's August cover challenge was comic that you've reread more than any other. So this one is clearly the one. So they reprint it in, it looks just like the books, but just bigger, the paper quality. And then they give you the really glossy covers. It's just so stunning. Absolutely, it's just beautiful. way to read this series.
Yeah.
And then of course the script breakdowns and the pre-sketches and all the planning work, and so phenomenal.
Yeah. And it's like you say, an amazing book. There are a few books, I think, if I don't want to sound like a geek, but when you are, because
we're on a YouTube show talking comic books.
Yeah, we're not geeks, yeah. But there are certain books, I think, when you're a serious comic collector, that you've got to have in your collection, or you've got to have at least read, and I think that's one of them. Watchmen, obviously, I think is another. But I mean, the artwork and the just the writing in that is phenomenal. I really encourage anyone that's not read that one to go and check it out, because it is absolutely superb. It's spot on.
The coolest thing I learned about, so I do a show regularly with my friend White Whale Comics. His name is Alec, and we do New Comic Talk once a month, but then we do D&D every Sunday. And early in our time together hanging out, he mentioned that he went to art school in Rhode Island, and his teacher was David Mazzucchelli.
Wow.
The gentleman who drew Year One. He also drew Born Again with Frank Miller at Marvel, and apparently is now an art teacher in Rhode Island, or Rhode Island Institute of Art Institute, or something like this. So I was like, how have you not told me this the first day we started hanging out? He waited a few years to drop that bomb on me. But I do think one of the most underrated and underappreciated artists, because he's done, in my opinion, my favorite Daredevil and my favorite Batman books, same artist, same writer, just absolutely, just really great, simple, detailed pencil work.
Yeah, stunning, absolutely stunning. Couple of comments. Everybody loves that book. Pad Bear there is saying he loves Year One, but thinks the best Batman story is Long Halloween. I do like Long Halloween. I've got that in absolute form,
which feels like Batman Year Two to me. Like it feels like a better version of Batman Year Two. They go together beautifully, art-wise. Even they go together really well.
Seamless. Jack would love to get into absolutes, but the missus will kick a shit out. They are worth picking up, Jack. You can get, if you want a kind of a cheaper entry level absolute, you can get Alan Moore's Killing Joke. Is a quite a, I think it's about 30 English pounds.
That's a good one. That's the other one that I've got. That's the only other one I've got. I got that one as a gift, and then this one I sort of kept watching for the prices on eBay to get a right spot, and then I snagged one.
Yeah, stunning. Fuzzy, up serious claim. Absolutely, Fuzzy. Absolutely. Okay, John. Now, we've had a pleasant chat so far, and I can see that you're an amenable kind of guy, that you're a laid-back gentleman. So I want to know now, what really winds you up? What boils your urine? What pushes your buttons?
So I thought a lot about this, and I think the main thing, and it may just be the era we live in, I think the main thing that really frustrates me, and I'm guilty as much as anybody, is hypocrisy. Like, drives me crazy. And we are in a hypocritical era where I just feel like it's inbred into all of us, is this element of, I'm happy to judge you and not myself. Like, I'm happy to throw darts at you and your choices, but not my own. And so I have a couple of examples of it. I'm going to go with my mom and my grandfather first, and go with the heavy political church one. So my mom is, in my opinion, the best example of a religious person, and she has always gone to church. She took her kids to church, Sunday school. She's a deacon at her church. She's the kind of person in our small town that would be, if someone at the church lost a family member, she would be there to take care of them, bring them food. She is volunteers, helps, donates clothing and food to the poor. I mean, she is just that kind of person. And my grandfather claimed to be the same, but never donated, never volunteered, never did any of these things, but would happy to preach that he was this Christian man, but wouldn't do any Christian deeds. And I think that era of hypocrisy is just drives me crazy. This era that we're in. And I feel very frustrated by people who say they stand for something, but then don't in any real way. And now that's the like big version. There's obviously like comic book kid versions of hypocrisy where we're willing to be like, I love Batman and I love reading Batman, even though it's pretty hypocritical when I'm reading it and saying like, prep time is like, Batman can do anything. Batman can do it. There's nothing Batman can't do with prep time. He can do anything. He can, he can take over the planet. Why hasn't he solved the crime problem in Gotham? If he can do anything with prep time, how has he not solved the crime problem in Gotham in all these years?
Yeah.
It's a little hypocritical. Or, the movie thing drives me crazy. I think we all should be championing quality comic book movies and the success of the movie industry for comics. But there's so many people that just want to crap on, it's like I'm there opening day on a certain company's new movie, and I'm telling you how great it is and everything, and then I see a trailer for the competing company's movie, and I'm going to crap all over it. And it's like, what are we doing here except just basically like creating havoc amongst each other and creating hate watching and hate viewing and all these things that it's like, I'm the kind of guy that can go see Into the Spider-Verse and love it, and then turn around and go back and see The Flash and with my kids and love it and be like, this was just good and fun. And, I don't need to step on somebody to raise myself up. I don't know. There's a hypocritical element that just drives me crazy.
Yeah, no, I absolutely hear you. And I think there are a few things that are interesting there, John. So first of all, I think we've both got kids similar kinds of ages. And there came a point for me a couple of years ago, certainly when I look at US and UK politics, where I kind of looked and thought, what are we showing or teaching our kids here? Because it was mad, some of the stuff that was happening. In terms of the movies and things like that, I think you're absolutely right. I think it's become, in terms of YouTube, you get the clicks and you get the views if you pull it to bits. I just tend to go and I just try and be as honest as I can. So, for example, I went to see Blue Beetle the other night. I don't know if you've caught that.
I've heard great things about it. People tell me great stuff.
You know what? I went in with low expectations. I'm not particularly a DC man. I'm more of a Marvel man. I am aware of Ted Kord's Blue Beetle, and I'm aware of the kind of the more up-to-date Blue Beetle based on Teen Titans cartoons and stuff.
Sure.
So I went in just for a flick, for a, and it was great. It was it's not going to win any Oscars, but it was a fun jaunt with a bit of heart behind it, some decent special effects and some good action.
Which, like, what more do you want from your comic book movie, right?
So I was having this conversation with some of my colleagues a while ago about the MCU's done wonders for it, but it's also, at what point did it suddenly become that every movie has got to be interlinked with every other movie, and it's got to have huge ramifications? And can we not just have a very basic one-off movie of man fights bad guys, or team fights bad, whatever it may be, Well,
I think that was part of the reason of the success behind Guardians of the Galaxy was everybody felt like, no, it could be its own thing. It didn't need to connect to anything. Of course, they ended up finding a way to bring things around and bring it in. But I think DC in particular has the opportunity to create a new paradigm for this stuff. With all of their Elseworlds books, Superman Red Sun, and all these other things, like there's a chance to just be. Why can't you have 3 different actors playing Superman? And this is the new Henry Cavill movie. This is the new, we're going to do an animated movie, and then we've got this new actor we're bringing in for the first time. There's no reason not to, and they could definitely create a new mold. The problem is they don't have Disney money to run this. They've got to kind of like use the budget that they've got, and it's just a matter of having hopefully somebody like James Gunn at the helm to kind of guide an era that has a consistency,
Yeah. Just going to quickly jump to the comments. Andy is just congratulating JP. 1,400 subs today.
Yeah.
Wow.
Blown up.
JP, you need to tell her what you're doing with the algorithm. Incredible. I'm a massive Batman collector too. Got about 800 Batman comics. But I look at them, I blame you if my missus says anything. Blame John. Not me. Yeah,
that's fair.
Blame John.
That's fair.
Let's see. Dead Man. Excuse me. They're doing that with Blue Beetle at the moment. Absolutely, mate. And the criticism around it is totally unfounded from what I've seen. I've enjoyed it. We're humans, tribal creatures. It'll never go away. That's sadly true, mate. That is sadly true. Fuzzy is also saying, I love a jaunt and a romp. Who doesn't? We've got Shap here. Thank you very much for joining, Shap. Always a pleasure. Efren's seen Blue Beetle. Love Blue Beetle. Need more Hispanic superheroes. Absolutely, mate. I love the family element of Blue Beetle. It gave me very much Miss Marvel vibes in terms of the family dynamic, which I really enjoyed. Ian, No spoilers, but yeah, I love the grandmother in Blue
I
Beetle.
heard she was great.
She's
Yeah.
superb. Yeah, she's absolutely superb. And I'm not going to spoil it, but there's a scene for me that hasn't been hinted at in any of the trailers that I just absolutely was to take away with. It was brilliant.
Excellent.
You'll know what it is as soon as you see it. It's just fun. Let's have a look. GP Venom, don't forget to uppercut that like button. Thank you, bud. Oh, Sean's seen it as well. Blue Beetle was great. You see? Yeah, good stuff. Good stuff.
And honestly, I saw Flash with my girls, and all of us came out liking it. Like my wife, the kids, like they weren't big Snyder era fans, but they made an entertaining movie.
Yeah.
Sorry.
No, I think my problem with Flash is I'm a massive, out of DC characters, Flash is probably my favorite, and I didn't like Ezra's performance in Justice League.
I absolutely think he's horribly cast, but I'm still surprised that I could go see him in his solo film and not just absolutely hate the movie. I was like, wow, because I do loathe the Justice League movies.
Yeah,
I do not like them.
We've got Jack agreeing with Luke. Wow, yeah, it's not often that happens. Someone agrees
End of the
Luke.
Civil War, right there.
Yeah, Andy, yeah, good stuff. Okay, mate. Next thing to show off. Now I've got some images, so tell a little bit about these.
Yeah, let's do that one. So I have just started getting into original comic book art, and the last couple of years I've been reading books that I really loved, and so this is a page from Poison Ivy. It's issue number 5, the G. Willow Wilson run with art by Marcio Takara, and so I contacted Marcio Takara and his agent and basically said, well, do you have any pages for sale? And I found this one, and so here's the black and white one that I purchased.
Hang on,
I gave you the color one so people could kind of see the that version. But yeah,
oh wow,
just absolute. It had Batman in it, which I was first like, okay, it's got Batman, but it's got the Floronic Man. Those of you fans of Swamp Thing know the Floronic Man, one of the enemies of Swamp Thing, and of course it's got Pam down there at the bottom.
Yeah.
It's all great detail work in the gutters, around the edges, and so yeah, this obviously it doesn't have the word bubbles, because nowadays artists, even if they're not digital artists like Marcio is not, draws the page, inks the page, scans the page, and then sends it, and then they've got an inker or a colorer and a letterer who does all that work digitally later on. It is a rabbit hole, Jack. It is an absolute rabbit hole.
Just hold the image of Batman up a bit closer, mate, because it's absolutely freaking amazing, that, isn't it? That is.
Yeah.
But these things are not cheap, are they? Let's be honest.
They're not. It's obviously cheaper buying newer stuff, the stuff that's on stands now, versus if I went to try to buy, John Byrne X-Men, I'm gonna get to sell my house to buy something like that. This was just a few $100s to get something like this. Okay. But I saved up and I talked to Takara and kind of found a page that I wanted, and then
that's not as bad as I thought, mind. That's not as bad as I thought.
I think it's a newer artist that's not as popular. If it was if it was a Jim Lee page or something like that, then you're gonna get the cost is gonna go way up.
And then we've got this.
So I'm an X-Men knucklehead. And I've been trying to find a page that sort of encapsulated a lot of the era that I have been enjoying of this current run of X-Men. And I've been loving Immortal X-Men, and that's by Kieran Gillen and Lucas Wernick. And Lucas Wernick is mostly a digital artist. So these are digital, what they call mono prints, where he prints it the one time and sells it. And this is a page from issue number 1. And what he did for me was, of course, it has the entire cast of amazing X characters. It's got Storm twice, so I'm very happy. She is at the top with Colossus. But then what he did was, I was like, this page doesn't have Destiny or Mystique, who are kind of big in this era. And he's like, I'll draw them on there for you. Wow. So he did a color. He drew them on. He colored it and signed it. And so it's got his remark on there as well, and gave me a little certificate of authenticity to go along with it. So yeah, this was just from, again, these issues both came out last year, and it's been a great way to kind of celebrate the books that I'm reading right now and really enjoying. I don't know that these are never anything that it's like, oh, I'm going to hope it goes up in value and then flip it someday. It's more like it captures what I'm reading and enjoying.
Yeah.
You know?
I mean, there are a couple of interesting things there, John. First of all, stunning artwork. Absolutely love it. But I think you're probably the first person I've ever spoken to that's enjoying the current X run. I mean,
much like Lost, you found. I'm you know, those little things, the Venn diagram overlaps, and I'm the guy right in the middle there.
No, I'll be honest. I've been doing a show recently with some of the guys on the channel, actually, Andy and people like that, where we've been reviewing monthly comics. Now, I'm a massive X-Man from days gone by. You know, I loved the Jim Lee era and all that kind of stuff. Legacy, all that kind of stuff. But then I drifted away. Now I came back in and bought the hardbacks of Dawn of X, I think it was. And then I read X of Swords, which was one of the worst hardbacks of my life. And then more recently,
I need to buy it. I'll buy it from you, right?
Oh God, it's honestly, man, it's dreadful. And then more recently, I've been trying to read the more recent stuff, but I think I'm suffering because I don't know the backstory to a lot of what's going on. What I would say is I quite enjoyed the recent Hellfire Gala issue, and I've enjoyed what I've read after that because it feels like a bit of a reset.
It is, yeah.
So yeah, it's
here's what I'll say to that validates your point, which is I don't know, and I don't know if it was an editorial, Hickman dilemma. I don't think they rolled out the post House of X books well. And I think Marvel had a demand of him that he publish a certain number of books, and he was editing and overseeing all of them and these cast of writers and artists doing them. I don't know that it was explained very well to fans how to read them and how to enjoy them. The regular X title that he started doing was not the main title. It was not the book to read. If you were just going to pick up one, you would have been absolutely frustrated and confused because each issue was a standalone, and it kind of like you're trying to figure out. It was more like he was basically trying to connect all the other books with his book, and it didn't work. It didn't work. Yeah. If you were reading all of it, then maybe it worked a little bit better, but like who's got that money? Who's got that time? I think what I ended up enjoying about Hickman's era was I picked books that I liked and just read that book. So I read Marauders with Kitty Pryde, and it was phenomenal. It was just a really great story. But the individual X book that Hickman did was just a mess. It was a mess. And you'd have issues that were amazing, and then the next issue had nothing to do with what you just read. And you were like, wait, couldn't you just keep that story going? And that was not his intent. I don't know what Marvel asked of him as far as having all those other books, but it didn't work. And I think what I recommend to people now is, if you like the Hellfire Gala, don't worry about reading everything because they got like 5 books a week.
Yeah.
Pick. There's only 2 books a month that I have on my pull list, and it's enough for me to keep up. You know, and Immortal X-Men is the best one. It's the one with the most through lines that kind of is the umbrella book at this point. Yeah.
I read one last week. I can't remember which one it was, where at the end of it, Kitty Pryde kind of goes to town on some. That was when I kind of thought, "Ooh, actually, I could get back into this." This is,
and that was X-Men 25. So that basically was the epilogue to the Hellfire Gala.
Yeah. I remember reading. I've talked about it on my channel. I remember picking up X of Swords and being quite excited by the idea behind it and the premise, and starting to wade through because I got it in the omnibus, whatever it was, wade through it, and it started to get a bit weirder, and then a bit weirder. And then all of a sudden they were having a dance off, and I was thinking, what am I?
It turned into a comedy.
Yeah. I thought, what am I reading here?
And my least favorite writer in this era is the lady that was writing that one, and I'm struggling to remember her name, but she was doing Excalibur and a couple other books, and the tone was way off. It was not the dramatic battle to the death book that we were kind of pitched. It was this comedic like reunion book that really I liked the Apocalypse stuff, but it was really just not what we were sold, and I was disappointed with that one as well. I agree. The one that you would love that you should pick up, and it does have a hardcover, is the X Lives and Deaths of Wolverine. is a
I've not seen
10-issue
that one.
miniseries.
Yeah.
It basically covered 2 stories that ran simultaneously. One was Wolverine based. Jean Grey took Wolverine's mind, kind of like in Days of Future Past movie, and forced him back through his own life to key moments where he's trying to stop Omega Red from changing the timeline. And then that is spliced together with Wolverine in our time trying to hunt down and kill Moira McTaggart. And it's a great 10-issue maxi series, if you want to call it, but it comes in one slim kind of hardcover.
I'll check that one out.
Phenomenal. Super violent, super on the, like, at one point, like, Moira's like, she turns heel bad and goes full villain, and it gets dark. It gets dark.
I'll check that one out. I will.
Yeah,
I'll tell you what other
a Wolverine fan would dig it if you're
I'll check.
Fan.
I like my Wolverine, but I'll tell you what other book I read recently, which I thought was really good. I think it's a mini series. It's where they've gone back to explore what happened during Days of Future Past. The first issue of that was very cool.
I can't remember what is it, like Days of Future Past Doomsday or something?
Yeah, something like that. Yeah. But I enjoyed that. Okay, just quickly going to jump into the comments again. Phil's Nerdyverse. Phil's saying Flash movie was better than the Flashpoint comic. That's right, I said it. I don't know if I can disagree with you, Phil. I reread Flashpoint recently and I wasn't a big fan. I loved it back in the day when I read it, but I don't know, it didn't float me boat this time round. Bad Bear. It's about good stories, though, and they need good writers. Disney have thrown stupid money at the MCU, but they still managed to create some dross. Absolutely agree.
It's a lot of money. It's a lot of money to make mistakes, right?
Yeah. Jack is saying original comic art is a massive rabbit hole. Absolutely, yeah. Jack is also saying enjoying the new X-Men stuff. Not much to choose from them. Yeah, people. I think it's not hitting for many people. I don't think it costs a scary amount for Jim Lee autograph alone. Forget the page. Absolutely fuzzy. We on one of my Saturday night live shows, we looked at how much he was charging for. It was just.
It's another reason why I bought that Frank Miller book slabbed and it's already signed, because I know how much he costs for a signature these days, and I'm not going to ever get a shot at that.
No. They used to be cheaper. I remember picking up pages at cons in the 1990s for about 30 quid. Pages now are expensive. Yeah. We have a con.
Older pages also had like the lettering done and the inking done. You could get a page that had so much more on it. The modern pages usually are just the artwork. It's very rare to get one with the bubbles anymore, because so many artists do elements digitally now.
Yeah. We have a nice con in the UK called Thought Bubble, which is it's not your typical con. It's all about artists and writers and self-published work, but we get a lot of people coming to that, like James Tinian was there last year. There's a rumor Scotty Young's going to be there this year, but the big selling factor for the con is they don't charge anything for signatures, so you can get as many, well, within reason. James Tinian sends you, once you've had 5 signatures, he sends you to the back of the queue kind of thing, which totally I think is fantastic. You know, it's great.
Donnie Cates did that when he came to my LCS. He's like, I'll sign as many as you want, no cost, but just 5 at a time, because I don't want to make people wait all night. And I was the last one in line for like the 4th time through the line to talk to him. He was really great.
But it's lovely because it makes it much more of a kind of a personal experience, I think, rather than you know. Yeah. 25 people watching. Please do hit that like and subscribe for both my channel and John's channel. It would be appreciated. Thank you very much. I like Old Wolf. I think me and Old Wolf will get on. Awesome. He's the only one enjoying it.
Yeah. He takes so many shots at me for what I read. I love it. Gotta love it.
Why does X-Men need to have 48 separate titles?
It's a lot. It's a lot. And I think what it is because they have such a big group of characters, they try to at least give characters a book so that, like, if you love, you know, like I'm a big Storm fan. If you want a Storm book, they've got it. It doesn't tie into the main stuff, and you can read it and enjoy it, or you can include it with. That's the other book in my poll, because I love that character and I want to see what she's up to.
Yeah, yeah. If you throw a handful of pebbles, you're guaranteed it.
Always taking the piss.
X-Men 1 enjoyed it. In issue, Profex was dead. Happened in X-Force, so I guess I had to read that too. He got better, I think, didn't he?
We got to kill him. They kill him a lot. We kill him a lot. He dies a lot.
Jack saying he hasn't enjoyed X-Men in years. Yeah. And Luke, X-Men will have to be rebooted when Disney finally decide to use them in the MCU. We'll need a reset. I kind of thought that's what they were doing with the Hellfire Gala, to be honest. I felt that was because they get rid, well, if it's to be believed, they get rid of a lot of mutants, don't they?
Well, and we are officially, as of the beginning of this calendar year, out of the Hickman era. His name no longer appears on any of the books. It used to say Head of X on every title, even if he didn't actually write it. Now his name's not on any. So
Really?
it's definitely transitioning away from his leadership in some ways.
Interesting. Andy's saying, fun fact, Old Wolf, John's Comics with Kids, and Rod the Recon were the first channels he subbed to. I bet he's unsubbed you. Andy has a habit of unsubbing and then resubbing just for shits and giggles, really.
I love it.
Let's have a look. Phil, the Krakoa era started so well in the House of Powers. I just
because
so
Marvel's
confused.
like most companies really good at big events and then struggles with the monthly issues ongoing after that. That's when it gets trickier to create consistency on a comic.
Yeah.
So it's easy to make a 10 issue event, right? It's harder to make an ongoing story.
Me and Efren have talked about this for a while. So me and Efren do a couple of shows where we kind of admit that we're very old and we've been reading comics for a long, long time. So he's saying he's been reading for decades and it's hard not to continue reading them. Yeah, except when Hulk is a spaceship. What the hell happened there? I mean, the current run of Hulk is much better, mind. That's very cool.
It really is, because they got a guy just finished writing Great Superman too.
Yeah, yeah.
This is the Hulk to read right here. I just got the omnibus this week.
Have you read it before, John?
I've read the first 25 issues, and then I stopped, knowing that at some point I'd just buy the omnibus and finish it. So
it's a very good series. I thoroughly enjoy it, and I would recommend it. I'd be interested to hear what you think of the end, because I got a little bit confused. It got very complicated, sure. but you're a lost man, so you'll understand it. No doubt. I did enjoy the series, but right, guys, needing to move on. So I'm just quickly looking through this. It's got great interaction tonight, so thank you very much, everybody. Off my shelves. I lost interest when the casts get too unwieldy, and X-Men reached the point 30 years ago. Yeah, why I like Morrison's run initial and smaller cast, grander stories. Yeah,
sure.
And I liked Josh Whedon's run as well, mind.
Astonishing X-Men, is a great read because it's a self-contained story. You could just get that one, those 3-4 trades or that omnibus, and you just get the whole thing top to bottom.
Yeah,
it's really good.
Phil's just saying the new Incredible Hulk is very good. It is, mate. It's superb. It's dark and gritty, and I love it. It's very, very cool. Wuzzy, I'm also a bit of a rogue, especially if I say a thumbnail that annoys me. See you. Oh, I love it. Okay, John, moving on, mate. Claim to fame. Now, you've sent us an image of this. Do you want to put that up now? Yeah.
I mean, no, we can hold off on it for a sec. So I work. I worked for a long while at a film festival here in South Orange County, and so it was a fun job after film school, when I had already gone around with my own short films and had experienced a lot of that world, and then I got to be on the other side and like meet filmmakers and actors and writers and introduce their movies and help run Q&As and all this kind of stuff. And I've gotten the chance to meet a lot of cool people, some quality people, some really down to earth people, and so I've basically got a Christmas card picture that I got one year. My wife, this is the only time my wife wanted a picture with a celebrity.
Right.
Do
you want to show the image?
Yeah, go ahead. We met Billy Boyd, one of the hobbits.
He's taller in real life,
the lesser of the hobbits, if you like. Yeah. So this is pre-bearded John and my wife and I, which is, I think this might be her first time on YouTube. So there she is. I had my Green Lantern shirt on. I just realized too. Look at that. That was awesome. Cool. He was really nice. We ended up having hoisted a few pints together a few different nights, because he was there with a film, an indie film he had made, and every night there's a party, and so we, it was a very party film festival, and so we went out drinking with one of the hobbits every night. He was happy to buy us a beer, or we would buy him a beer, and just chat things up. He was really funny, friendly, nice guy.
Wow. Tremendous.
Yeah. Of all the celebrities, it was one of the few times we actually I needed a photo of this, and then it was our Christmas card that year.
You used it as your Christmas card.
This was our Christmas card right here.
Yeah,
this one.
Very cool. Very cool. And he was a nice guy. I've heard so he's done a lot of cons around my neck of the woods in the UK, actually. And apparently he's a really, really. Do you know how some people you meet and you think, you're a bit of a. But apparently he's a really nice guy.
Yeah, I had again. He was willing to have several beers every night with people from the film festival, not other celebrity. He wasn't there to meet other celebrities or anything. He was just there to have a drink. It was awesome. That 15-year-old Land, probably.
I mean, that's harsh. That's harsh, but I like it. It's harsh.
The gray hair makes all the difference. If I shave that off, you get a few years back.
Andy is just saying here, he's just subbed to me and you, John. That's
there you
nice.
go.
Thank you. He'll be unsubbed by the end of the night. Jack is saying, "New Hulk's the only Marvel I've got my pulse." Yeah, it's very cool, bud. Very cool. Question for John: what's the last channel you sub to?
Ooh.
Killer Comic Show. Just say the Killer Comic
yeah.
Show. Yeah. That's Andy's show. We've got Hoot. Dr. Von Hoot in the building. Nice to see you, my friend.
He was on a couple of streams yesterday. I saw him on.
Yeah. He was on Rob's Fat Stacks channel.
Yeah.
He quite often does a show with me on a Saturday night as well. He's a fantastic guy. Absolutely fantastic.
Great. Amazing beard. Beard.
Yeah. It's not often you hear that. Not often you.
No, you don't.
A tremendous beard. Yeah. Okay, John. Favorite hero? If you had to pick one hero, and again, this hasn't got to be a superhero. It can be anything you want. Who is your favorite hero?
Well, I'm going to stick with superhero because that's what I had prepped in my mind. It's Storm. Yeah. I like Aurora. I obviously as a leader, I appreciate someone who's able to be a thoughtful, compassionate, stern. And, as a teacher and a dad, leadership is what you're juggling in both cases. And she's just really effective at that role. And even at a young age, when she first joins that team, I think the writing around her character and her evolution has been wonderful all along. And I feel like her struggles are incredibly relatable. Even when she loses her powers and she's looking at her identity and trying to understand who she is, she went through her awkward punk phase, just like all of us have our phases. And I've always really felt that it was a great example of a man writing a female character, but not in any way infringing on her femininity, her function in the story. Like, she was empowered in so many ways to be someone of value and respect.
I love that. So again, I'm a big fan of that particular character, and particularly her backstory, because she's a quite often we'll get kind of one-dimensional characters, don't we? With Storm, there's so much weight to her history. And certainly we've been talking about X-Men a little bit, but my favorite phase of X-Men, when I was reading very, very regular, was when Storm was kind of the leader of the Morlocks and she was in the tunnels and all that kind of stuff. And the Mohawk phase, the leather jacket. Yeah, all that kind of stuff was superb. Superb.
We recently, for the Omni X-Men show, we were on the third omnibus and we had the issue where she battles for leadership of the Morlocks. And they have the Switchblade. Callisto. Yeah. And Callisto thinks she's got her beat. She's like, oh, this lady doesn't know how to fight without her powers. Throws a switchblade to her, and you see this great 3 panels where she just like snags it out of the air, so smooth, and just is ready to fight. And you know that you can even see it on Callisto's face in the next panel. Like, you're in deep weeds. You don't know what you're doing here. Yeah. It's a great sequence. Yeah.
Now, and again, harking back to my older days of reading the comics, I don't know if she still is or not, but I do miss the romance with Forge. I used to enjoy that kind of dynamic. And then Bishop for a while. I think she was with Bishop for a while, wasn't she?
She was. And then, and obviously she's had a thing on and off with Logan at different times. But yeah, the Forge relationship and those issues, I do have a hardcover of the life story issue, which are those issues that are centered around her meeting Forge confessing that he is responsible for her losing her powers, her trying to define her new identity, and then falling in love with Forge. I think just really powerful. And if I'm not mistaken, it's almost all Barry Windsor Smith artwork too. So really great visual storytelling. Yeah.
It's an incredible run. Yeah. Just quickly jump into the chat before we see another one of your items. We've got Doug, my friend Doug, who did the show a little while ago. Nice to see you, Doug. Always a pleasure. Von Hoot, that's the takeaway. The beard. Absolutely. Yeah.
The mask is like, well, whatever. It's the beard.
Best hero, easy answer. Luke. God, I'm gonna have to disagree.
Anti-hero.
Doug saying hi. Dead Man, good friend of mine, is saying he's subbed to Old Wolf 65.
Old Wolf is obsessed with Dead Man, so they might be a really good match. The character, obviously. Old Wolf's got the logo and everything.
Nice to see you, Doug. Always appreciate you, my friend. Do you think Storm speaks about the weather for small talk? Absolutely, Fuzzy. What else would you talk about? Do you know what I mean? What else
I love that there's
about?
also like great petty moments with her in the comics where she's like making it shower on somebody that doesn't want the bad weather. Like she's not above pettiness, and I like that as well.
Just like John got me into eating bagels, Old Wolf got me into drinking bourbon.
So look, you got bagels and bourbon. You're locked and loaded.
You sorted. You sorted.
Best of all worlds.
Fuzzy is talking about Storm's sexual activities. Yep. She does. Yeah. Oh, we've got Connie. Nice to see you, Connie. I hope you are well. Chris, question: what's your favorite? Oh, Chris, man, no. Move on from bloody Lost. And you're just being picked up here, John. What mask are you talking about? Dr. Von Hoot doesn't wear a mask.
That's right. Sorry, that's all face tattoos.
That's all him. It's his own fur. Okay, John, show us something else from your collection, mate.
All right. I'll go. Since we just saw it a second ago, I'll go with probably the most money I've ever spent on a single comic is on this book. It's not the most valuable comic I've got because obviously it hasn't gone up in value since I just bought it like last year. But it's Green Lantern issue 7. This is my favorite bad guy in DC Comics. It's Sinestro. For those that don't know, this is his first appearance.
He's not on the cover, is he?
He's not. No, it's just as usual. It's just Hal Jordan being a perv. That's
it was a simpler time, John. It was a simpler time.
It really was. His first cover appearance is on issue 9, which is 2 issues later, and that one is on my list. I'll get at some point. But this one was getting out of hand and it was hard to get a copy of at a good price. And I finally found somebody letting me do a little layaway plan last year to get this book. It is a horrible cover, or I would not say horrible, a traditionally bland Hal Jordan cover.
It's a cover of its time. What's the age on that, John?
So this is 1961.
Wow.
Yeah. So it was a lot of money to put down for a single book, especially in a low grade. But it's a villain character that I am obsessed with and really have always enjoyed the back and forth between Sinestro and the other Green Lanterns. And the Sinestro Corps War is still one of my favorite DC reads. That if anyone's never gotten into Green Lantern, you can just read Sinestro Corps War, which is a great universe tying like event series, and you'll get him. He's just a boss. So
another call back to what we've been talking about earlier, the Sinestro War. You can get a stunning absolute edition of that. It's got the fold out pages, the kind of the massive spread. It's just up, and it's a fun thing. I don't know if I'm sure you do, John, but on the Sinestro Corps, on that kind of, there's a big fold out page where it's all of them, but there's an alien from a xenomorph in a Sinestro ring.
Oh, and his team in
that image somewhere.
Yeah,
it's really, really cool. Very, very cool. Okay, right, John. Next challenging question for you. In your busy life, because I know you're a busy man, what would make for you a perfect day? What's the ideal day in your life?
I'm getting to the age where my perfect day usually doesn't have me going anywhere. In the old days, it might have been, I go to a convention and I go to there's way the best stuff tends to be stuff at home. I love watching a movie with my daughters. That's the first time they've ever seen it. So that I'm at that phase where it's a lot of fun to take movies I loved and then sit around and watch. So like we did Young Frankenstein not too long ago, and what a great way, get the popcorn going, and so that would be the end of the day. Is a movie the girls hadn't seen and we're on the couch and we get to enjoy it. Definitely would include time, either virtually or actually would be best, hanging out with friends from the community and just, having a beer and talking about silly, stupid stuff. Some of the best conversations I've had at cons were after the con was wrapped and you're out at a pub or you're out at a diner or whatever, and you're talking about, Steve Whiting and I would talk about volleyball because our daughters both played, and just talking about the ups and downs of the club season and what that's like, and just connecting through those experiences. So it would definitely include that portion, and it would probably include a massive breakfast because it's my favorite meal. So there would definitely be scrambled eggs. There would definitely be waffles and bacon and pints of coffee, and it would just be kicked off with big breakfast with all your friends, and then and end with popcorn and a movie.
It sounds like perfection, that, John. And it's really, I'm interested in what you said about the conventions. So, I mentioned Thought Bubble to you early. I've been doing this YouTube malarkey for about 2.5 years or so now. And, you meet people in the community as you do. And you don't know people really, I guess you would say. And then I did Thought Bubble a couple of years back and met a number of the UK YouTube community and just immediately gelled, and you work out straight away who they appear to be on camera,
right?
And we ended up just, the best part of the entire convention was the night times with them, and then we went back the year after. We went for a lovely meal together, and it was just perfection, And for an old guy like me, I didn't think I would gel with new friends, if you know what I mean. So yeah, that's the side of things I really enjoy.
So along the same lines, this last March, I was in I think it was March. I was in Florida for MegaCon, and I was in a rental house with Old Wolf. So Old Wolf and I and his wife Julie, who's amazing, his son, and we went to Disney World one day as a group. We went to the con several days, went out to dinner every night. We're drinking around the table at the end of the night together, and yeah, you get to know people away from the computer and the screen and the stuff, and you spend time just laughing and just enjoying the time between signings and all these kinds of things. And Tony's an awesome guy, and he's actually thinking. So we have my wife and his wife share similar ancestry as far as like Portuguese and Scottish ancestry. And I joked that when my father-in-law was alive, he used to take my wife to the local Highland Games. Nearby, they have a Highland Game Festival every spring, and they do the caber toss and they do all the crazy events. And I joked about it, and then so now he and his wife are trying to see if they can fly out for the Highland Games and take us and go again. So we may be doing a non-comic book Scottish Games weekend at some point next year.
That'd be superb. Old Wolf's just saying there's a nap and nap to affect the issue.
I will say no, because I suck at napping. I absolutely suck at napping. If I nap, I'm either sick or the rest of my day is ruined now. I'm not going to know where I am or what day it is. I'm just going to be lost.
Doug saying you're making him hungry talking breakfast. Yeah, absolutely. But Phil, if you ever come to Thought Bubble, John, you won't get a chance to talk about the con in the pub. Peter will get you blamed.
I'm okay with that.
I might have bought a few shots, John, and people were moaning about it the next day.
My wife does want to do a big family trip to the UK, so that is down the road at some point with the girls before they get to college.
Tremendous.
Yes.
Andy, did Peter get you down with the youth of today? Yeah, I did, mate. Yeah. Andy saying you're welcome. Yeah, because it was a wild night. Connie, lovely meal. Certainly wait for it. Rumours, get lost. So what they did, John, the swines, totally unbeknownst to me, was we went for a lovely Chinese meal, and they told the waiting staff that it was my birthday. There's about 15 of us there or something. So this poor lady made a cake for us, sang happy birthday, and presented us with this. Yeah, that's
hilarious.
It was rather embarrassing. I played along. Cantonese Comic Kid, thank you for joining.
Jeff, I met Jeff in Florida when I was there for the con.
Tremendous. Thank you for joining. Appreciate you coming, mate. Guys, we've got 25 people watching. Please do hit that like and subscribe button. Okay, now this is going to be awkward for you, John. This is going to be challenging considering you've got some friends on the stream. Your favorite YouTuber. If you're alone at home and you fancy watching a bit of YouTube, whose channel are you turning on?
This is a great question. And I thought long and hard about it. And ultimately what it comes down to for me is, what am I hoping to get out of YouTube? And you mentioned earlier, like, who have you or somebody asked, who have you unsubscribed? There have been plenty that I've unsubscribed to, mostly because their content veered in a way where I wasn't interested in what it was. Not anything to be hateful, but like, I'm not interested in speculation stuff for the most part. I don't necessarily want you to tell me your hot 10 books or anything like that. It's just not where my collecting is these days. So it doesn't work for me. It doesn't mean I don't appreciate that they're having success or those people are doing good work.
Yeah.
So I picked my friend who I've been lucky enough to go on a lot of his shows. JP Budget Collecting is one of my favorite YouTubers, and
I don't think I know that one.
He's great. And if anybody, if you just search JP Budget Collecting, you'll find him. He's got to be near 5,000 subscribers, something like that. JP does several different kinds of content. The one I love the most is he does live streams around independent comics, and he'll buy hardcover graphic novel of a series, and he'll find 3 friends and they'll read the first volume together, offline, and then come on and debate it and discuss it at length. And so I've been able to talk like the entire Vertigo run of Fables with him. He's almost completed Sandman this way, gone through and done Sandman. His Deadly Class discussions with Rick Remender's Deadly Class have been great.
I've just getting into Deadly Class recently. It's not.
So here's the benefit of what he does is he makes playlists for each comic series. And when I was reading East of West by Jonathan Hickman, which is incredibly dense, what I did was when I finished a volume, I would go to his channel, find the playlist, and watch the video for that volume. And I could put it at double speed, the live stream. Yeah. But I could hear all the discussions around what was happening, and it solidified a lot of understanding for things I was confused about, or reinforced what I was thinking I was understanding. It was a great way to interact. And then I would leave a comment as I went through the volume. So I read the whole series, and I was probably like 3 months behind their live streams, but I was able to then go straight to the live stream each time and catch up on it. So he does those, which are great. He hosts D&D with me every Sunday night. So I'm going to be on with him in about 4 hours, 5 hours. And then he does do speculation, but what he does is he does videos looking 6 months back. So he'll pull up Tom's list, or he'll pull up the CBSI list, and he'll look back 6 months and say, how have those books done 6 months later?
Okay.
And it's more of an investigation into patterns, right? To look at it. Do variant covers hold their value? All right. Do movie keys sustain their value? What kinds of books are the books that are going to maintain, so that it's more of a guide to understanding the market as it is currently. And he'll do a live stream on the weekends looking at this week's list and make predictions and say, I think this is what it'll look like in 6 months. Then he does the edited video every weekend where he's looking 6 months back, and he'll break it down to kind of say, yeah, this book came down, or this book held value, or this book is gone up a little, or whatever, and try to understand why this is happening and what it means, as opposed to basically giving his opinion. It's market analysis that's kind of interesting.
Sounds superb. Sounds like he's got a very varied and interesting channel. Dr. Von Hoot has just popped his link in the chat there. What I'll do is I'll put that in the description of this video as well.
Yeah, he's just a good guy. He's just a really good guy, and he knows his books, loves his books.
Good stuff. So please do check out that channel as well, because it sounds very, very interesting. Okay, John, show us something else in your collection, my friend.
All right. I don't want to. Well, yeah, I don't want to make. I feel like this shows. I don't want to make it too much for Luke. But this is the first 9/8 comic I ever bought, and of course, it's
nice,
this one. Yeah. And I'm one book away from having the whole Secret Wars run in this form, and I just wanted to show. I know that the newsstand is often the more popular version, but I love the direct edition because it's got Spidey's blackface. And if you go and look at the first few issues, their direct editions have the other Spidey face, so you kind of see Spidey's face change along with his costume as he comes around. So as a kid, I loved this series. Yes, I love Mike Zack. I love this series. I even had the action figures. I had a ton of these action figures when I was a kid.
I've still got a few, mate.
I went back and rebought a few. Yeah, they're really, really great. So this is probably my favorite event, although I know it doesn't hold up as well. I've reread it many times, and every time I grind my teeth anytime the Wasp does anything. really poorly written character she spends her time trying to figure out how to get a comb to do her hair. Like, you're on Battle World. Let's focus. Battle World is here, lady. Plus, they also like my only big frustration with Secret Wars is really that they sidelined really cool characters that didn't get to go. Like, I still am mad Sue Storm didn't get. The other 3 members of the Fantastic Four got to go, but Sue had to stay home and watch the kids. Like, come on, get out of here, get out of here. So Secret Wars, absolutely.
All with section asking which book you're missing.
I'm missing none of the keys. I'm just missing issue 11, which I think is stupidly priced in a 9.8. It's like a $200, $150 book, and I'm like, this is not worth it. It's just.
What's the cover for that one? Is that the one where they're all going up the hill?
It's the one when it's Doom's back, and he's looking at all the heroes and basically proclaiming himself God, and he's got his mask off because he's fixed his face. He's used the Beyonder power to fix his face. It's not a great cover. It's not a key issue. I think it's only expensive because there's probably not a ton of people slabbing that book. But I'm not paying over $100 for it. So I'm waiting until I can get a copy for like $90 shipped. I will buy it. $150, I'm gonna wait. It's not worth that much.
Those Secret Wars covers are just phenomenal. I absolutely love that Secret Wars one, but I like even more the Alex Ross version. Have you seen that?
I have. Yeah, the issue 1 cover I don't love as much. My favorite is issue 10, where Doom is like armor all shredded, and he's just like
it looks beat up,
battling the Beyonder, and just it's so intense. Mike Zeck, I had my raw copy signed by Mike Zeck in Baltimore one year. He was there, and I just like, this is that, and one of the Craven's Last Hunt books I had to get signed. He's just so great.
And he thinks we might have discovered an internet kind of breaking news here.
I have a really good fake accent that I do.
Tremendous books there, mate. Absolutely tremendous. I love. Well, I just. It's interesting. Secret Wars has such fond memories for me because that's one of the books that I bought in the old UK format, newsstand books. And that's, you know, when you think about your first comic book experiences, it's the Secret Wars books I remember.
That's great.
Going back and rereading it, it's not the best story, but it's
all the Doom stuff is amazing, and it's a Doom story in the end. And that's what I mentioned to Jim Shooter when I saw him at MegaCon. I was like, what I love about it is it's a Doom story, and it's nice that Doom is like the anti-hero of the book. It's an evolution in his character.
I always like Doom when he's written in terms of the scar being really minuscule and minute. I don't like it,
but it eats away at him. Imperfection, right?
That's why I like Doom the best. Sorry guys, just jumping in the comments. The comments are pumping tonight, so thank you very much, everybody. I apologize if I'm missing anybody. But I just want to say I've not done many spec shows. The last I did was Spider Boy. Spider Boy, wow, let's see how the book's doing 6 months. It's an interesting character, isn't he?
Kevin lives like 30 minutes away or an hour away from me. He's one of my local buddies. So I haven't, Jeff, because I was worried everybody had seen those books and that I was just going to show the same ones again and again and again. But yes, Steve Whiting, when I was in Florida, gave me an Avengers 1. And that was he gave it as a gift.
Not Avengers, the Avengers one.
The Avengers issue 1. The next time you want to show the chat and I've got a break, I'll move things around and I'll get it.
Yes. Wow. Let's have a look. See.
I might even be able to pivot here.
Yeah, no problem. Pivot.
Yeah, exactly. I'm going to break something.
We've got a question from Fuzzy Dunlop for you, John.
Yeah.
Now, Fuzzy is a master of questions.
Uh-oh.
Far better than my questions. Here we go. 3 X-Men characters to get rid of forever.
Ooh.
Choose.
3 to get rid of forever. Oh, goodness gracious. Well, I mean, oh my God. Strong Guy has got to go. Strong Guy is one of the stupidest characters. I mean, that he's out.
X-Factor. Wasn't he originally X-Factor?
He was one of the new team of X Factor after the original team left. He's stupid with he's got like a little gray tuft on his hair. That's it. Yeah.
Wasn't he the bouncer for not Dazzler? It was
that would be a perfect job for him.
Yeah,
let's keep him doing that and never bring him back.
Never see him again.
Yeah, he's definitely out. Oof, this is tricky because any writer can make one of these characters good. Yeah, I would have said Angel if they had not remade him as Archangel.
Yeah.
Warren Worthington, up until Louise Simonson got a hold of him, was trash, an absolute waste of a character. I would love to get rid of Dark Beast. The evil villainous Beast. I remember Beast as being funny and jovial and caring, and I don't know what happened. I feel like the Age of Apocalypse turned him into a bad guy, and then they never went back. Like, he's always been kind of creepy ever since. So I definitely want to get rid of Dark Beast. He's gone, and yeah, I'm not going to say Angel because they fixed him. I'll be nice to Louise Simonson and say they fixed Angel. Let's see, who else would I get rid of? This is tricky. Havoc, maybe. I'm not a big Alex Summers fan, although they have you know what it is? It's X-Man. Do you remember that guy in the 90s?
I like X-Man. Nathan Summers.
One of the Nathan Summers clone versions.
Yeah, he was from the Age of Apocalypse, wasn't he?
Yes, he was part of the Age of Apocalypse.
Yeah, he came with good powers initially, but then they turned him into some kind of... Was he a shaman or something at some point?
He evolved, and really it was not a good decision.
Yeah. Okay, mate. That was a good roundup there. Pass Point Comics is with you on Dark Beast. He's a massive Hank McCoy fan.
I miss Hank McCoy. He was a nice guy.
I miss Hank and Wonder Man. They used to be, Hank and Wonder Man together used to be cool.
So that was my era of Avengers. Was Hank was an Avenger. He was an Avenger to me before he was an X-Men. So I always saw him as part of that team. They would call the X-Men would call the Avengers for help, and Beast would answer. Yeah, absolutely. So this is for you, Jeff.
Look at that.
We'll call this my next share then. You just have to keep me track of when I need to cut this list, and then this one. So I went to MegaCon. No, this is let's go the longer version. I wanted to go to MegaCon right before COVID. I had saved up some money and I was ready to go, and then COVID hit and the con was canceled. And I couldn't go. And I was going to meet Steve Whiting, a friend I had met through YouTube down there. And he sent me an apology gift, which was Avengers 2. He sent me the second Avengers book as I wish you could have been here, but here's something. And I was like, that is an insane gift. Then I show up and I finally make it to MegaCon this year. And I'm going around and at the end of the con, we're saying goodbye. And he hands me this as just a thank you giveaway. It's buck wild. This is the same guy, mind you, who gave Bueller a Hulk 181. He is just one of these guys that is the AOK beast. He's a beast level, like TJ the Slab Dragon is the same way. They're giving guys on a different level, just wild.
I mean, that's incredible. Absolutely incredible. Stunning book as well. Yeah, love it. Absolutely love it.
And I am actually just 2 books away from having the first 15 issues of Avengers done. I need issue 3 and issue 11. No, issue 15. Maybe something like that. One of the ones in the double digits. Not a mega key. And number 3, I've got the others, so I'm doing well.
Tremendous, absolutely stunning books. Pad Bear is upset. You've upset him. Havoc's cool. Cyclops is a
I mean, you're not wrong. Ooh, how about a bold choice? What do we get rid of Charles Xavier?
Yeah,
how about we get rid of Chaz? I mean, Chaz is obviously. Wasn't it the first issue or second issue of X-Men? He was scoping on Jean Grey. He was a bad teacher early on in the Stan Lee era. Might be the better choice to get rid of.
And do you know what? They got rid of him a while ago, didn't they? And Cyclops was leading the X-Men, and I enjoyed that period. He was very cool. Anyway, Fuzzy,
there was an era when Kitty and Wolverine were running the Academy. Wolverine and the X-Men is a great Jason Aaron run, and there's no Xavier around.
Absolutely. It was Fuzzy's question, and he's saying, unfortunately, you've answered it incorrectly, so you have to give him your lost box set. That's just how the show rolls, I'm afraid, John. If you just send it over, that'll be fine. All right.
Nobody's asking for that.
Nobody. Fuzzy, come on, let's be honest. Nobody really wants that. That's mental. What a gift. Absolutely. Fuzzy needs a Steve in his life. Absolutely.
We all do, yes.
Andy.
It's fun. You know what's funny about that is he pulled me aside on day one, and as Jeff is saying, they had that book for 4 days. He pulled me aside on day one and he's like, "Hey, what do you think about Purple Label book?" And we had a whole long conversation about purple labels and the issues with books. And I've really never had a problem with low grade books as long as I understand the restoration or whatever's being done to fix it. In this case, it was a little color fix, but mostly it was a staple replace. One of the original staples had rusted away and they replaced it with a new staple. That was like the main ding, I guess, on that.
Yeah. Book. So that's it. So I've got people on the channel will be sick of hearing us prattle on about it, but I've got a Journey into Mystery 83 that came back as a conserved grade, which I'd never seen before. Okay. And that was because the staples had either been cleaned or replaced.
Gotcha.
Yeah. Nice. Okay, mate. Next question for you. Favorite villain. Who's your favorite villain?
Well, we've already talked about Sinestro on the DC side, but if I'm going to go bigger than just comics, if I was gonna get into the movie thing one more time, I love Hannibal Lecter. I love that character, and I've read all the Thomas Harris novels. I love the TV series they did not too long ago. Mads Mikkelsen is. It's possible I like him more now than I liked Anthony Hopkins after the original Silence films.
Me and my wife binge watched Hannibal during COVID. So good.
It's phenomenal. And he is able to replace somebody like Anthony Hopkins, who Academy Award winner for that role. Mostly because I think Anthony Hopkins has gone the other way. Each successive time he's played Hannibal, I've liked it less. But it's fine. But there's something charming and charismatic and horrifying and amazing about the concept of that character and the execution of it by Anthony and by Mads. I think they both bring something interesting to that role. And I just love, I'm captivated by it. I mean, he's only on screen for like 15 minutes in the original movie. And half of it, he's just staring right in your eyes the whole time. He's just like in your face. But an absolutely wonderful villain, if there can be such a thing.
No, absolutely. You're getting lots of agreements in the chat here. Lots of people saying, what a TV show.
Yeah.
Hannibal's a brilliant show, much creepier than the films. Yeah.
Yes.
Dr. Von Hoot's not as much of a fan, but he thinks he was absolutely wonderful in the role. And Connie's agreeing. And Fuzzy
the clothes, the meticulousness. And obviously there's a costume designer and a production designer and a set designer doing all of these things to make it meticulous, but it's also in the performance and the writing as well, the way that they make him seem so sharp. And that's like a weapon. Like his clothes are sharp and the table settings are sharp and everything about him has this edge to it. Clean.
Just superb. John, I find that there's a kind of a balance to the universe, a yin and yang, if you know what I mean. And I think during the course of this show, we've become friends, I'd like to say. And the universe's yin and yang means you have to lose a friend because of that. So Luke's here. I think it's time to cut him loose, mate. I think it's time to,
I've got Peter now. I don't need you.
Yeah, you don't need Luke. Do you know what I mean?
Well, here's the thing.
I can grow a ginger beard if needed. I don't mind.
Nobody needs that either. I've been doing these shows on my channel where I'll pick a TV show and we'll go through it in epic detail. We did Lost. I've done The Wire, and I'm doing Ted Lasso right now. Currently, we're discussing Ted Lasso. But I do have plans to eventually get to Hannibal and do that show and do the deep dive discussions. So I'll have Peter on. I don't need you anymore, Luke. We're all good.
Yeah. Hard to bear, Luke. Hard to bear. Okay, mate. What show? We've got 2 more items to show. So
okay.
Yeah, another item to show.
I made some changes, so I'll do. Let's do a toy. We haven't done any toys really.
Yeah, let's do a toy. I'm loving that apocalypse behind you.
I'm a big Lego fan, and I went when I had missed out on the X-Men Blackbird set, and had to go through back illegal channels to snag a nice set of this. But I just, it's such a great, you got room for, I got Jubilee and Storm piloting the craft there. You got space in the back here. I got Logan and Cyclops playing chess or eating sandwiches there in the back. It's just
chilling.
Yeah. It's got rockets in the back you can launch. Let's see if I can do one of these. Where is it? Is it up? Down? There it is. Hey, I just blasted them. I shot Gene. Look out, Gene. Stay down. Oh, that one just hit the cat. All right. So it's a great representation of the Blackbird, especially the 90s, cartoon version of the Blackbird. Looks really great. And as I buy the minifigures, at cons and stuff, I can snag Angel and whomever else. It's been a fun way to just, I don't know, take my love of comic characters beyond and get, because I obviously, I've got the Milano, and I've gotten other crafts as well. I've got a ton of Batmobiles. I got the Tumbler from the Nolan era, and I do need to get the animated series Lego Batmobile at some point. Yeah. But this is probably my favorite one because it's X-Men related. So
very cool. I mean, unfortunately,
they're fun to make, and my kids love them, and we can make them together.
Unfortunately, John, I think we've just become unfriends, I'm afraid, because I hate Lego.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I mean, no, it's not that I hate it. I bought the Optimus Prime a while ago, and I can't say it was a relaxed experience building it.
Was it one of those
telling us, it's lovely and you're relaxed?
I've lost a piece. Where's the piece? I can't find the piece.
Well, I had too many pieces. That was the problem. There was just bags full of stuff, and I was like, I don't know what this is for. Fuzzy's in agreement. Oh no, Lego, he's not perfect after all. Sorry. Andy, my fellow adult fan of Lego John, I've suddenly resubscribed. There goes the cat. You see, people know Pete's going to cut you off now, John. He hates Lego.
Part of it is obviously I had them as a kid a little bit, but as a teacher, I've used them in my classrooms a lot for engineering activities. And then as my girls got into that age, I bought Legos by the pound from a person. I bought 25 pounds of Lego from this person. Wow. And we had what would amount to a torture room because you couldn't walk in barefoot anytime ever. And then little by little, I've been buying the comic book pieces that I wanted. So whether it's Adam West Batmobile or something,
that is very cool.
And the Batmobiles often come with a little plaque to let you know what about the car itself or whatever. But it's been a fun way to kind of connect with my girls in comic books and stuff too.
I mean,
and Luke is still going off on Thomas Harris. Look at him. Holy cow.
I mean, this is what we call it in the UK. I don't know if you've got a word for it over there, but this is like crawling. Do you know what I mean? It's quite nauseating, if I'm being honest.
Publish a book and let us know when it drops. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah. No, I hear what you're saying about that kind of connection of being able to do it with your kids. My interpretation of Lego was my son didn't have the patience for it, so I would get the box, would build it for him, and then he would smash it into the bloody wall or something like that.
And then you're like, "Oh, great! Now what do I do?"
Yeah.
I get it.
Okay, mate. So another interesting question for you, and this can be about anything you want. It can be about anything. It can be about YouTube. It can be about life. It can be anything. Give the people watching a bit of advice. What advice would you give someone?
I mean, I think the piece of advice I've come back to most in my life is moderation. Everything in moderation. Like it can be anything. What you eat, what you read, what you spend your time doing on YouTube. Like it's been, and I'm not saying I'm good at it. Clearly, I do way too much comic books and YouTube. I definitely need to tone down a little bit. But if you moderate these things so that you're spending time outdoors and you're spending time with your family and you're getting a little exercise and you're enjoying what you're doing, then for me, it's all about moderation. And I have a joy for bourbon like anybody, but I don't, where do you draw the moderation line? Right. So I think that's the thing for me most in life is if I just eat red meat and drink bourbon and sit on YouTube all day, I'm going to have some health problems. Things are going to go sideways on me. And so just finding a way to moderate yourself a little bit has been the piece of advice that I come back to a lot. When I feel out of sync with myself, it's probably because I'm doing one thing too much. Or focus on your work too much, focus on the family too much, whatever. You're not in balance with yourself, and balance comes through a little bit of moderation. I think.
It's easy to kind of lose track of the bigger picture, isn't it, and focus on just one element or do one thing. Right. So I think moderation is a very good bit of advice. Not something I'm good at, I have to say.
No, but, I think it's something we all need to remind ourselves. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Like, you know, have I been sitting inside this whole weekend? Have I not gone out and done anything? Like, what am I doing here? You know, not that you can't enjoy sitting at home. And I was in Hawaii for a couple of weeks with my mom for her 80th birthday. And I spent most of it reading, but I was reading at the beach. I was reading on the porch of the place. I was reading with my kids. I was reading a ton. So I wasn't really moderating, but I was trying to spend quality time. They were in the water playing, and I could read a book, and, you know, I could play cards with my mom, and then I can read a book when she takes a nap, those kind of things.
Brilliant. Lovely bit of advice. I like that. Andy is just saying here, Peter, you've had one set. I'd say bad eyesight. And what do you mean not so nimble fingers, Andy? With your head for small Lego bricks. Thanks very much, Phil. He's used to handling small things. Thank you very much.
The next one I'm building is the house from the movie Up, from Lego, the Lego Up house. So that's my next one to work on, is tucked away here.
I like that. Okay, John. Last item to show. What are you going to show next?
All right. Well, I'm going to do a slab. Remarked slab that I bought that has another. We had before you and I went live, we talked about Dark Side a little bit. Who's another great DC villain that I absolutely love. And this is a Neil Adams remark and signature copy of his first cameo appearance. One of the many, like, he's on a screen in the background moments. The strange early appearances of Darkseid. But for me, what this book needed was Darkseid on the cover, and so I was very happy to see somebody selling one. This is obviously before Neil had passed, but I know he's done this remark a bunch, so you'll see copies similarly done where he took the negative spaces that he could find and did a chance to put Darkseid's cameo on the cover. But that's a great way to fix maybe the cover so that it includes him, you know.
That's it. Sorry, just hold it up a little bit closer, mate. That's a stunning remark as well.
I'm sorry, the remark,
yeah, that is that's not something you're going to see every day. It's a stunning book as well. That's not a one I've got in my collection actually, but it's a stunning book. Jack, cool book. That remark is phenomenal. And Dr. Von Hoot, tremendous book. That is a stunner, mate.
Well, and obviously, like, it's Kirby that's the like driving force behind it, but the cover is a Neil cover, so it's kind of a nice chance to get the remark from. Obviously, I couldn't have gotten a Kirby remark or anything, but
Kirby, that's a signature I'm searching for. I ain't got a Kirby signed book. That's the one I would like to get a hold of in my collection.
It's not lying nearby, but I do have the second cameo, the other Jimmy Olsen book. And it's got a Kirby signature on the cover. Now I can't verify it. It's it's a raw book, and the issue that I've heard some people have is that his wife was signing a lot of stuff for him late on. So and he didn't sign a lot of covers. So the fact that it's on the cover does trouble me a little bit, but it looks very authentic. So it's so hard to know.
Thing wasn't that he did a load of, was it X-Men 1, the silver foil, the silver cover?
He signed a bunch of those
Dynamic Forces, I think. But it turned well. The rumor is that his wife did all the signatures for him.
Yeah. So I know a lot of his signatures he did on the first inside page. So it seemed odd to be on the front cover, but I have no interest in sending it out to get certified or anything like that. So I claim that I've got one. I have no way to prove one way or the other.
Stick with that. Just stick with that. Yeah. Okay, John, we're coming to the end of the show now. Tell us a little bit about what's coming up on your channel and where people can find you.
Just Friday night, I was on doing a discussion show with a couple of buddies talking about movies. So we irregularly have these late night Friday or Saturday night movie chats, and we were discussing Kiss Kiss Bang Bang, a really great movie by Shane Black. And Young Guns 2, we were talking about Young Guns 2, had some kooky westerns. Upcoming, I don't know that I've got another Ted Lasso breakdown. We're basically breaking down Ted Lasso by theme, not by episode.
Okay.
And we did one on the pursuit of excellence, where we were really talking about sports and talking about what is Ted Lasso having to say about sports in general. What is it projecting on that topic? The next one's going to be on mental health, and we're going to talk about what is Ted Lasso the show, not the guy, trying to espouse about mental health and the current state of mental health in the world, and specifically in relation to sports and the workplace. Like, what is it trying to say about mental health there? We'll have other ones later on family and things like that. I just found it a much more interesting way to get into a TV show, instead of going, and breaking down an episode or a season or an arc, was talking about themes and the way in which the characters interact, or the writers use characters to interact with those themes. So we'll be doing mental health and Ted Lasso very soon.
Sounds incredible. That sounds really, really cool, mate. Really cool. Lots of people are saying Ted Lasso is awesome. I've never seen it. That's a one that I need to catch up on, to be honest.
It's hard because it's on Apple TV, and if you're not subscribed, it's like it's an extra cost, and why would you do it?
Fuzzy's not a fan, but lots of people are saying that they are a fan.
So I lost Fuzzy again, but
Fuzzy.
I got Perpetual.
You got Perpetual back, yeah. Jack is saying Young Guns too. Top 5 favorite. Yeah, it's a superb. Years since I've seen it, mate. I'd have to go back and rewatch it. But yeah, very cool. Andy, John, you're officially on the list of people I'd take for a pint. It's a small list.
I am in.
You're in. Good stuff. Listen, John, this has been fantastic. Thank you so much for spending some time with us. Really interesting to hear from you and your journey on YouTube and your collecting habits in general. So it's been a real pleasure. Thank you so much to the chat. You guys have been absolutely jumping tonight. It's been superb. Thank you so much. That does bring us to the end of the show. If I can just direct people, tomorrow night, Monday, on my channel, we're doing Let's Talk Toys. This is where myself, Luke, and Simon and James T. Keegan get together and we'll talk all things small scale action figures, large action figures, 1/6 scale, and computer games, video games. We're probably going to add a Lego section to that because I'm such a fan. So please do join me tomorrow night for that show. And a bit of a plug that on Tuesday night over on JP Venom's channel, we're not reviewing Flashpoint. I don't know why that image is on there. JP, we're reviewing Justice League versus Avengers. So looking forward to that. That is at 8 o'clock on Tuesday. So that's your whack. Thank you very much, everybody. Just quickly in the chat, everybody's saying thank you very much. Thank you, guys. Really do appreciate you all stopping by. We've got Luke back on side. Luke's all right there. Luke's on tomorrow night with us. So looking forward to that. That should be fun. Peter President, yeah. And Deadman, super show. Okay. Thank you very much, everybody. Really do appreciate you joining. And with that, John, we will call it a night. So thank you, everybody. Thank you, John. And we'll catch you all next time. Take care. Bye.